Hello everyone, this is King Kelks and welcome back to our forex trading course. This video we are going to be taking a bit of time away from technical analysis. We are going to be going over risks and psychology. So this video is going to be focused on how to lose. So let's get right into it. So in no particular order, these are some of the things we are going to be discussing in this video. And essentially I just want to get you guys introduced into certain things that you need to understand, right? Because we've been going over technical analysis in the previous videos, in the previous group of videos, but it's important. This video is very important to your trading career course. With just technical analysis and without an understanding of risk analysis, without understanding of your psychology and all that, then you are really looking for problems, right? Because in order to achieve this profitability in the forex market, you need to understand risk, you need to understand your psychology. So this is going to be the first, and let's dig right into it, right? So I'm going to be jumping from different numbers to different numbers. I don't necessarily have to go from number 1, number 2 in a particular linear order, so just stay with me. So first of all, risk management. What is risk management? All right, so when you hop on a trade, right, you are basically saying you have speculated or you have analyzed based on our technical analysis, because that's how we trade, right? Technical analysis, that you have speculated that the market is supposed to move up, like let's say 50 pips, right? But then just entering that trade and saying the market is supposed to move up 50 pips without knowing how much you are willing to lose if it goes against you is not good enough. Because now, okay, let's say you have let's say you've speculated that from $10 something should rise to $50. So you are willing to put in, let's say, $10 per pip, right, on the trade. So now, how much is in your account, right? How much have you calculated that, okay, if this market does not go up, I'm going to exit at this particular place with this particular loss, right, relative to your account? So that is what this risk management is all about. Because now, assuming, and I'm going to be using this hypothetical example, right? So assuming you're trading a $5,000 account, right? And I'm going to be using this because this is the lowest prop firm you can get out there. So first of all, what is a prop firm, right? This is the spelling. So a prop firm is basically firms that will offer you money to trade. Like let's say you can pay $50, right, to control a $5,000 account. To control $5,000 account, right? You can pay let's see, you can pay about $90, right, somewhere around there, to control about $10,000 capital. But of course, before you are capable of, before they give you this 10,000 to trade, you have to hit a particular percentage, right, of the account. You have to prove to them that you can trade by maybe reaching 12%, 8%, then they will give you these funds, right, to trade for them. Now the reason I'm using a prop firm example is because it's with prop firms I started gaining my profitability, right? Because one of the major problem people have is capital. This thing right here, capital. Because in this video, the things I'm going to be talking about, they might seem very crazy, especially if you have to trade with your own little amount of capital. Because when I say risk 1% and that to make 3%, right, and you only have, let's say, $100, let's say you only have $100, 1% of $100 is literally what? $1. That means you are going to make what? $3, right? $3. Now if I tell you that you should be happy with 3% at the end of the week, and you know that the only money you afford to trade is just $100, at some point your psychology will break and you'll be like, how can I just be making $3 per week and I should be okay with that, you know, all that kind of stuff. So right now I'm going to be giving an example with prop firms, right? Because now, what is 3% of $5,000? That's what? $150, right? So instead of you trading with $50 capital, right, is it not better to invest that $50 in a prop firm right? In a prop firm that will give you $5,000 to trade. Because now if you all you had was 50, and I'm not saying you should trade with your last money, because that's something you should understand about psychology. Whenever you enter this market with money that is your last available capital, you will have this feeling that makes you want to, it's like a make it or break it kind of thing, because you're now like, if I don't make this money, then that's all, I've gone flat broke. Now this is something I should start facing, right? As a trader, you need to understand that psychology is king, and you entering the market with money you cannot afford to lose is the number one thing that will make you fail in these markets. It's the number one thing. You need to understand that you should never enter this market with money you cannot afford to lose, which is why I'm going to still be emphasizing this prop firm. Basically, right now, what I expect you guys to be doing throughout this series is that you should go and open a demo account, right? Open a demo account. What I did was that I was trading with a demo account of $5,000 for many months, for like a year, right? I think it was about 9-10 months, right? Exactly $5,000. Why? Because how I was doing is that I was trading this demo account like exactly how I would have traded the live account, and I think it's what I should have added in this list here. I was trading this demo account exactly how I would have traded live, and I decided until I see a level of profitability, week 1, week 2, week 3, that shows yes, my strategy is profitable, I was not going to trade any live account, because I'd lost many money previously, right? I've lost a lot. So what you need to understand is that, first of all, don't fund a live account until there is statistics proving that you can trade live, proving that your strategy is profitably consistent, right? Like at the end of the week, check your trade history. Okay, yeah, was I profitable? If no, okay, the next week, was I profitable? No. The third week, was I profitable? No. Then you don't have a strategy that works, or you have not understood your strategy very well. Why should you then be funding the live account? And that's the problem with most people. You go and you fund a live account just because you have seen one video. Maybe you watch the market analysis video and you saw that yes, after higher high, higher low. So whenever you see higher low, you want to enter to go to higher high, and then it does not go in your favor, and you're like, the thing doesn't work. No, you don't have a strategy that works, or you don't understand your strategy, and yet you went and bet that knowledge on live money you cannot afford to lose. And that's why there's so much bias now about forex trading, because people who are in for hot money, people who just want to make money like real sharp, they enter into the market with money they know they cannot afford to lose, and then boom, because they don't have an understanding of how things work, right? Or they don't have a proven strategy, or they have not even understood what trading is all about, and then they lose the money, and then boom, forex carries the name of it being a scam. And people are out there making millions from trading, and a lot of the population are out there thinking forex trading is a scam. It doesn't really matter. That's why you won't really see forex traders out there trying to change the notion of forex trading being a scam, because whether or not you believe it's a scam or you believe it's true, people are making their money out there, right? So first of all, that's why I'm going to be doing this, because for me, what I did was I stayed on this demo. I realized I was going to save up $50, right, to be able to access a $5,000 profile. Because if I was just trading this $50 with a live account, I know that if I'm to stick to this my 1%, because this 1% is essentially our risk. So a lot of people will be telling you different things out there, that it all depends on how much you are willing to lose. You can risk whatever it is, as long as you're able to lose it, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. If you have been following this video with me from the beginning to this point, I am telling you that everything I'm going to be discussing only risks 1%, right? Okay, so 1% is our risk, right? Now the reason I'm telling you guys that it's going to be a $5,000 prop firm, right, is because if you're able to sit down with all this, right, from the first video, and you go through weeks, months of learning, and finally in the next video I'm going to be discussing my strategy with you guys and be showing you how I get in, what I look for to get in, right, the rules that must be there in order for me to get in, right? That's the strategy I'll show you. So in this strategy I'm going to be showing you, I'm trying to tell you that if you're able to see through everything, understand it, right, and all the while you're doing all that, they're trying to save up the bare minimum to access a $5,000 prop firm, right, is $50, right? Or the bare minimum prop firm you can get, right, is a $5,000 account, and the amount to get a $5,000 account is $50, right? So while doing all of this learning, you can be saving up for this $50, and then you can be trading a $5,000 demo account. right? So now you know that you should be trading it exactly how you be trading on live account. Otherwise, guess what? You are setting yourself up for what? Failure. It's as simple as that. Because if you are like, I don't care, I can lose this trade, it's demo. Sorry, you are getting ready for failure. But if you calculate your percentage risk while trading demo, you enter when you're supposed to enter, exit when you're supposed to exit while trading demo, then yes, you are preparing yourself for success. And I'm telling you this because this is exactly what I did. Right? Okay. So let's get right into it. So now you're trading a $5,000 account, right? And you should only risk 1%. Now, why am I saying 1%? Because there's something you need to understand. Every strategy has the room for failure. Right? Now, the strategy I'm going to be teaching you, it works. It works very much so. It's what I used to pass my first prop firm evaluation. Is like, it works. But what you need to understand is that if you think because something works, every single time you enter the trade is going to be a profitable trade, then you are wrong. Right? Now that you know it works, then you need to know, okay, you need to decide how much am I willing to risk in order to see that it works. Okay, so now look at this. Assuming you have 10 trades, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And then with this strategy, I'm telling you that at the very least, as a beginner, what you should be aiming for is that 4 out of 10 trades should be a winner. 4 out of 10 trades should be a winner. Why am I saying so? Okay, now let's see something. Let's assume as a beginner, right, you lose all the trades. So that means 10 out of 10 you have lost all. How much have you lost? You have lost 10%, right? You have lost 10%. Now in a prop firm, the maximum you can lose in some accounts is $10. In some is 12%. So now that means in order for you to blow the entire account, right, you need to lose 10 out of 10 trades. Okay, now stay with me. See something. If the reason I'm saying you should start aiming for 4 out of 10 trades that should be a winner is because of this. If you win 4 trades, you're what? You've made, if you lose 6 trades, right, you have lost what? 6%. Right? If you make what? 4 trades, let's say you are aiming for 1%, and that brings us to risk and reward, which is this third thing here. Risk and reward. Whenever you are entering a trade, you are either entering for like something like 1:2, right, or 1:3, or 1:4, or 1:5, or something upward of that, right? You should never enter for something called 1:1 trade. Why is that? Because 1:1, you are now basically saying, since we are using our hypothetical $5,000 account, right, our 1% is what? Our 1% is equals to $50. So now that means you are risking $50 to make what? You are risking $50 to make $50. Now here's something. So let's say 6%, right? You lost 6% after what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After 6 trades, right? And you only made 4%. And you made 4%. Now 6 minus 4 is what? 6 minus 4 equals 2. That means you are still in negative of what? 2. Because you lost 6% and you made 4. But you are still in negative of what? Minus 2. Which means 6% here is what? $300. Right? You have lost 300. Is equivalent to $300. 4% here is equivalent to what? Is equivalent to $200. Right? So you lost $300, which means your account went down to what? $4,700. And then you now made 4% back, which means your account has gone back to what? $4,900. But you see, you are still in negative of what? 2%. That's a negative of what? 2%. Now you can see that means in order for you to be profitable, you need to have what? You need to have more trades that are winners instead of being losers. But now I'm telling you that as a beginner, first of all, start aiming for 4 out of your 10 trades should be a winner. Why am I saying that? The reason why 4 out of 10 trades should be a winner is because you should not be aiming for 1-to-1 risk to reward. You should be aiming for 1:2, which means you are saying that for every $50 I risk, right, I should make back what? I should make $100. That's what risk to reward is. So you want to be entering trades of 1:2 risk to reward. That means 1 being the risk, 2 being the reward. So you are risking 50 to make double that, 100. Right? If you are trading a $10,000 account, that means you are risking $100 to make what? $200. Now, in the same way we discussed that time, this time around you lose 6%, right? Which means you lose 6 trades. 6 of your trades are losers, and you have lost $300. And then 4 out of that 10 trades turn out to be winners. But then now remember, you are not aiming for 1:1, which means that 4, what have you made? Let me bring up the calculator for you guys. So since you are aiming for what? $100 each trade, because it's 1:2, then 100 times 4, because 4 out of 10 trades were winners, is 400, right? Which means you have made 400 from just what? From not even having more winning trades than losing trades, because your losing trades are still more, 6%. That means 6 out of 10 trades are still what? Losers. But now you, because you have made 4%, right, and you are aiming for 1:2, you have made what? $400, which means you lost 4,700 here. Then you now come and add this 400. What do you now have? 5,100. So you now see that at the end of the week, if you do it week 1, right? So let's say week 1, you ended up with what? 2%, right? Now this is hypothetical, right? Week 2, right? Let's say you ended up with that same 2%. Do you see now how after 2 weeks you've made 4% while still having more losing trades than winning trades? You see? Now assuming week 2 you did not even make, what was it, 4 out of 10 trades, right? Let's say you only made 3. That means you only made $300 that week. That means what happened was here, 300 to 300. That means from 4,700, and you come and add back that 300, you're back at 5,000. Which means with 3 out of 10 trades being winners, you are at break even. You are not losing, you are not winning. That's what break even means. Let me write it down. Break even. You are not winning, you are not losing. Now, in what profession would you be able to see that you can be wrong 7 out of 10 times and yet you are not losing anything? All because you are risking what? 1% every single trade. 1% every single trade. Now, why am I not saying you should risk 2%? So now, earlier on I said that if you are trading a prop firm, the maximum you can lose is 10% or some 12%. Now imagine you were risking 2%, right? Imagine you were risking 2% and you lose that 7 trades. 2 times 7 is what? 14. It's 8, sorry. Right? Okay, sorry. 2 times 7, 14, yeah. So you're trading a prop firm that only allows you to lose 10%, and yet that 7 trades will make you lose 14%. Then you know that you have lost the account. Because if you don't think you can lose 7 trades, you better you will lose 7 trades and the market will not give a damn about you. It's as simple as that. You can have a winning strategy and yet you can still lose 7 trades in a row. In a row. Right? In a row. Which is why I am saying you should not go into this market thinking you want to beat the market. You will come with your first position mentality that you had in secondary school or something. And this market will show you that it does not care whether you are a doctor. It does not care whether you went to Harvard. It does not care which private university you went to. Everybody in this market will be humbled. Right? Because people will come with the mentality that they have understood this thing. Maybe you have watched the previous technical analysis video and you're like, all this thing makes sense. Let me jump in and I'll start making money. No. the market will humble you. That's why I wrote over here, I said, when you think you will lose, and you will lose again, and you will lose another time, and then again. When you think you have lost enough, you must think you live in a fairy world with unicorns and rainbows, because boy oh boy, you will lose again. It's as simple as that. Okay, when I was trading my first prop farm, right, I think the first week I was on a winning streak. I won, let's see, I entered the trades Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I was on a winning streak. So I was up 6%, right? So in order for me to pass the first phase of that particular challenge, remaining 2%, which means 8%. And then I remember I entered the next trade on Friday, right, risking 1% as usual. So if I make 2%, then I've passed the first phase of the evaluation of the prop farm. Then I lost it 1%, so I was back to 5%. So I entered a second trade with the same strategy and everything, and I now lost it, which means I've gone down to what, 4%. So in 1 day, I lost 2%, and I was down to 4%, which means now in order for me to hit my 8% goal, I need to make a 1:4 trade, or I need to make 1:2 twice, or 1:3. And you understand what I'm trying to say? So it now hit on my psychology, and then I was like, I have to enter this trade today by force by fire, because I wanted to pass. It's that kind of cloud chasing kind of feeling. You want to prove that you can do something. What I wanted to do was I wanted to pass the prop farm that particular week, so that I can see that yes, I passed a prop farms challenge, right, within the first week, and on a winning streak. And yet I blew my winning streak, and I also did not pass it that week. I entered another messy trade that same day, and I lost another percent. That's 3% lost in a day. Now imagine I was risking 2%. It could have been worse, right? So of course what I did was wrong. Why will I enter, especially when my strategy was telling me not to enter, right? I still entered. So I lost 3% in a day. But it could have been worse. How could it have been worse? I could have said, okay, let me enter with 2%, so that I can just make back everything all in one go. If I enter with 2%, I would have wanted to repeat again with another 2% when I lost that one. That means I would have lost 4%. I would have wanted to enter, I would have lost 6%. You see how you can lose your entire thing within 1 day? You can have a proven strategy that works. But believe you me, if you are not willing to sit down and accept this 1% and know when you have lost, you will lose your account. It's as simple as that. So which brings us to the second thing. Let me clear all these things. Which brings us to the second thing. I think you should only be entering, for me, right? For me, throughout when I got profitable, right, I realized that I only trade twice a day. So if I trade during the London kill zone, using my strategy, please let me emphasize this, using the strategy, because nothing should ever make you enter a trade if your strategy does not say so. So I entered during London kill zone during the using the strategy, and it doesn't work out. I'll wait for New York kill zone again, using the strategy, and it doesn't work. That's it. I'm done for the day. Right? But there might be a time whereby I will see the same strategy playing out. If the strategy plays out again during New York kill zone that same day, yeah, I will enter. But if the strategy does not come up again, I will not enter. So me, typically, I've realized that if I don't win in London kill zone, right, I might win in New York kill zone. And then if I don't, then I'm out for the day, because that's the way I like it. That's the way my psychology likes it. Then I know that at the most I've lost 2% that day, and I'm out. And then I can come back the next day knowing that all I need is one single trade to make back this 2%, and even have profit extra, because you see me aiming for things like 1:3. The strategy I'll be showing you guys, it aims for 1:2, 1:3, 1:4, right? I can aim for 1:3 that next morning in London kill zone, and literally wipe out my 2% loss and make 1% extra. But all because I'm risking what? 1%, and I'm only willing to subject myself to 2% loss per day. Because when you keep entering trades after trades, thinking it's going to be a winner, your mentality, is the human mentality. You will want to make back every single thing you have lost in that very day. First of all you want to do is hit a particular target. Then when you're unable to reach that target and you lose some amount of money, you will want to enter again to make more, right? And then even the one you have lost, you will want to recuperate your loss and make extra on top. At some point, you will not even care about the extra that you want to make on top. All you want to do is make back what you have lost, and you keep entering. You see the trade going against you, you will add more positions thinking to go in your favor. Don't do that, right? Which is next thing I want to say. When the trade is not going in your favor, right? And you are seeing that your bank account is in negative, don't add more positions. There is no reason why you should add more positions, because now you have already seen, let's say you are risking that $50, and because now you see the trade is going against you, and it's like, let's say $30, you are in minus $30, and you are like, no, this thing is working, this is exactly my strategy, it should be a winner. So you add on another position because you think it's going to start going in your favor. Or maybe let's say you have already know where your stop loss should be, yet you start pushing your stop loss to another point because you are like, no, it will turn. Now, if your strategy has already showed you where to put your stop loss before you entered, where to enter, where to exit, and it is going to your stop loss, let me tell you, you better sit down and watch it go and hit your stop loss, which is the next thing I want to come to. Stop loss placements, right? In the strategy I'm going to be showing you, right, I have already discussed how order blocks, right? I'm going to be showing you how to place your stop losses, right? Especially with regards to the strategy I'm going to be teaching you guys. Once you place your stop loss there, let me tell you, it does not matter whatever it is that's going on in that chart, don't move it from that position. The only problem will come when you go and place your stop loss in the wrong position. Let's say you want to make more risk to reward, so you go and place it higher than it should have been or lower than it should have been, and then finally it's going to go and hit your stop loss, so you start pushing it forward, you start extending the level of stop loss, which means you're increasing the risks on your account. No, if your strategy, if you have already entered, the strategy I'm going to be giving you guys is 5 rules, right? I'll give you guys 5 rules of what to follow. If you make sure that you follow these 5 rules and you see price going to your stop loss, let me tell you, welcome it with open arms. Why? Because you know that there is room for you to lose trades in this strategy. In any strategy, there is room for you to lose trades, but you know that, right? You also have edge in the sense that you know that out of these 10 trades, if you have the right risk to reward, you are still going to be profitable. Which is why I say don't come with the notion that you are going to beat the markets. You cannot beat the markets. You won't beat the market, but you will make money, right? You won't beat the market, but you will make money. So using this our hypothetical example, right? Imagine if you are aiming for 1:3. If you're aiming for what? 1:3. That means for every $50 you risk, you are making $150. Right? Okay. So 6% loss. What have you lost? $300. But this is your 4 times that you win. Right? Let's say 4 times. Sorry. So 6 times you lost, right? Risking 1%. And then 4 times you win, right? With, let's say, 1:3. So 1%, risking 1% to make what? 3%. That means what have you made? So 150 times 4 times. What do we have? 150 times 4. We have 600. So let's put this in here. Now 600 minus 300. You have lost 300. Now 600 minus 300. What? 300. So you're still up 5,300. So you're up how many percent? Right? Because you lost 6%. Right? So what you did was that you lost 6%. You lost 6%. And what did you make? You made 3% 4 times. Right? So 3% 4 times is what? 12%. So you made 12%. Now 12% here. You better start liking mathematics, especially because it has to do with money. Even if you hated mathematics in school, when mathematics has to do with money, you best like it. So 12% minus 6%, right? So equals what? 6%. So you're still up 6%. That's what? $5,300. You made $300. Still risking the same 1%. Let me tell you, this should be the fixed constant in whatever trading you're doing. Whatever your account is, don't risk more than 1%. It's as simple as that. So you are not risking more than 1%, and yet you can still make a lot of money. And now this is still with losing what? 6 out of 10 trades. So your win rate is what? 40%, right? your win rate is what? Equals to 40% win rate, which is small, yes, but what? You're still profitable. Heck, if you are aiming for 1:3 and you have a what? 30% win rate, which means 7 out of your what? 7 out of all your trades are losers. You're only making 3. So 7 times you lose, risking 1%, you have lost 7%. How much have you lost in dollars? $350. And you make 3 times on 1:3 risk to reward, right? This time around, how much have you make? 3 times 3, 9. You've made 9% minus 7% that you have lost. How much have you made? 2%. Right? So you see that even if you're only winning 3 out of 10 times, you can still be profitable. Still risking what? 1%. So this should be the fixed constant. Now, that brings us to the next thing. Right? So I've already talked about risk management. Right? Okay, capital preservation. This basically means you as a trader, you are not looking to make money. You are looking to preserve your capital. I know it sounds weird, but it's the simple thing. You know that the strategy works, right? You know that it will turn out in your favor. So what is there for you to do? Number 1 is to preserve capital. How do you preserve capital? By always entering with only 1% of your equity. Only 1%. That's what you're doing. You're preserving your capital. So your strategy shows up, enter with 1%. It doesn't show up, you don't trade. That's capital preservation. Because instead you might say, I want to see what will happen. You now enter the trade that your strategy did not tell you to enter. How are you preserving your capital? That's foolishness, right? But when your strategy shows up, you only put on 1%. You calculate the lot size that you should use, right? Relative to the pips that you're risking. And then bam, that's all. You're preserving your capital. Then next thing, risk and reward. So how are you going to be profitable? By making sure that your risk and reward is good enough. 1:2 should be the lowest you ever go for. 1:2. Then looking at this, your trades in terms of percentage and not dollars. This is something you need to understand, because some people will now be like, so I'm risking $50 on one trade like this. Like, they are not okay with it. Or maybe they will see that they are aiming for 1:3, and so now they have $100 in their account, and they know that the trade is supposed to bring in 150. And so because they cannot just contain the excitement that there's already $100 there, they will just close without waiting for it to reach the 1:3. Right? So they'll just close the entire thing. Or maybe as soon as they see $20 for a trade that was supposed to be 1:4, they will now close it. All this thing is not going to allow you to be profitable in the long run. You need to enter when your strategy says so, and not exit until your strategy says so. Right? So you are looking at percentages, not dollars, because the dollar figures might start hitting on you. Okay, so now say I was trading a $5,000 account, and then I now moved up to a $25,000 account. Now my risk back then was what? $50. Right? Now my risk on $25,000 account is $500. You know what I will have had to do to make $500 on a $5,000 account? I will have had to win 10 trades in a row, or I will have had to win 10 trades. Sorry, I will have had to make 10%. But now, basically, all I have to do to make that $500 is what? A 1:1. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because 1% is $500 in a $25,000 account. So now, when you're aiming for 1:3, that means you're supposed to make $1,500. Now, some people will now be like, oh, shit. I don't even can sit down and wait for that 1:3 to play out. Because even if a 1:1 pop up, I can take it. That's $500. Well, guess what? You're not doing yourself any favors now. Because now, what if you lose 5 trades, right? And you make 5 trades. You are back to what? $25,000. You have not made anything. You have not lost anything. All because you thought it's big money. I cannot wait for it to go somewhere. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now the next thing is consistency. Alright. So let me take a page out of Mark Douglas' book. Let's go to the next page. Let me show you something. The reason why consistency is important, right? I'm not even going to go through a bunch of stuff they talk about in books and videos and all that. Let me just give you a simple reason why consistency is important. Now, let's say the strategy I give you, right? I told you that you should aim for what? A 40% win rate. Now, even if you are going to win 4 out of 10 times, you never know which of the trade is going to give you the winning one, which of the trade is going to give you the losing one. So let's say this strategy is giving you 40% win rates as a beginner. Let's say, right? Now, so let's say this is the first trade. Let's say first trade 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So these are 10 trades, right? Which means 40% means you are winning 4 out of 10 times. Now you never know if the 4 wins are going to be the 4 trades you place, and that the remaining 6 trades are the ones going to be the losers. You don't know. You don't know if the first 6. So let's say a week opens up, right? The first 6 trades you enter can literally be losing trades, and then the last 4 you enter can literally be winning trades. But now let's say Monday you enter 2 times, you lose. Tuesday you enter 2 times, you lose. Wednesday you enter 2 times, you lose. You have lost 6%, and you're like, this strategy doesn't work. Or you're like, no, trading is not for me, right? If you are not consistent, you will not come back on Thursday to enter again, and Thursday might have just been the one to give you what? Do you get what I mean? Friday, coming back on Friday might just have been the one to give you what? That 2 winning trades. Because you don't know if 6 trades can come in a row and then 4 later. What can happen is that you can lose the first one, right? You can lose the first one, make the second one. You can lose 2 afterwards, make the next one, right? Make the next one. You can now come and, right, lose 3 again. You can come and lose 3. Now 1 2 3 4. So you make first one, you lose, right? Sorry, you lose the first one, you make the second one. You come and lose 2 afterwards, and you're like, so I have lost what I made and lost another one again. You get? But if you are not consistent, you will not come back. And now see how this thing looks like. You lost, you won. You lost, you lost, you won. You lost, you lost, you lost. Then you won and you won. Only 4. But if you had not come back after these 3 string of losses, you will have not made these wins. That is what? Consistency. So without consistency, this your profitability is nowhere, right? Without consistency, you cannot achieve this profitability. So let me write it down here. Consistency is key to profitability. Now I want to show you guys a curve I made a while back on a previous video I made. Okay, so this curve just shows you how, right? Let's say you make 2%, right? You come to a drawdown. How are you going to make the next 2%? By showing up. So y-axis over here is in percentage returns, right? While this x-axis is about time, emphasizing consistency. That if you don't keep showing up, you cannot keep making those returns, right? Because you might be at the drawdown at this point, but if you don't come back the next day, you never know what's going to happen. That's what the consistency thing is all about. Because with more effort and more time that you put into your trading, right, in terms of going back to back test to see what's happening, coming back the next day to do exactly what your strategy says you should do after understanding your strategy, that is what this consistency thing is all about, right? Because you don't know which trade is going to be a winner, you don't know which one is going to be a loser. The only thing you can do is work on your strategy or check your strategy very well. Make sure you understand your strategy. Is this thing right? Am I actually entering when I'm supposed to enter? Am I exiting when I'm supposed to exit? Go back to previous videos, make sure you're doing everything right, and if you are, keep showing up. It's as simple as that. Keep showing up, because literally everything can be right about your entry, about your exit, about the point you enter, and you will lose 6 times. Yes, and you will lose 6 times. It's very possible. But then also, you can also know that you can also win 10 out of 10 times. I'm serious. So you just never know what could what. You just never know what will happen. You never know what will happen. If you don't come, you won't know. So here's the thing. I think the first time I was trading my $5,000 prop farm, right? Okay, when I was live, right? I think before I was live, when I was still in the challenge phase, after the first week that I ended with a minus 3% drawdown, and I came back the second week, and I literally did not have any good trades, right? So I entered good ones and it was a loss. but I also missed some really good ones because I was kind of busy with school and everything that time. And I came back the next week again with like 2% drawdown on my account, and I entered trades from Monday to Friday, and every one of them was a winner. I ended the week with a 12%, with 12% in profits. 12% after a week of what? Being in drawdown. If I had not come back that week, I wouldn't have made that 12%. I could have just decided, I'm bad at this, I've lost 2% on this account, or I lost 3%, I came and lose another 2%. But I showed up again. And if I had not showed up, I wouldn't have. So everything was right about my strategy. Yet, I had losing trades. Yet, I was in drawdown. But consistency made me come back. And yes, I had the winning trades. That's what the consistency thing is all about. Okay. So next thing, you will lose, and you will lose again, and you will lose another time. Then again, I've already talked about that. Right? When you think you have lost enough, you must think you live in a fairy world with unicorns and rainbows. Because boy oh boy, you will lose again. Now, you won't beat the market, but you will make money. I can't emphasize this enough. You will see all these things playing out in the markets, and you'll be like, you want to show people. That's what's wrong with people, new traders these days. You want to go and prove to people that you can trade better than them, or you want to prove to whoever it was that told you couldn't do something before that you can do this. You will lose your money, and the market won't give a shit. You will lose your money, and the market won't give a shit. You want to make sure you are in sync with the market. You want to flow with the market, not be against the market, right? So if first trades made you lose, second trade made you lose, third trade made you lose, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then you are like, no, I understand this thing, I will show this market I can do what I can do. So you are now risking 2%, or you want to make sure you win the next one. No, don't make sure you want to. All you have to do is make sure you enter when your strategy says so and exit when your strategy says so. That's all. Whether you lose or win, you have done well. That's what a good loss is. And this is a concept I was telling a couple of my students. A good loss. Good loss exists. What's good loss? Good loss means you have followed every single one of your strategy to the latter. Rule number 1. I'm going to be giving you guys 5 rules in the next video. Rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, rule number 4, rule number 5. And these rules, they will tell you that, okay, this is where your stop loss should be. This is where your exit should be. Right? And if you know you have already followed each and every one of these things to the latter, and you still lose the trade, guess what? You have done your part. Because your job as a trader is not to make sure that you win. Your job is to make sure that you do what your strategy says so, and if it turns up with a profit, good. If it turns up with a loss, good. But when you don't do what your strategy says you should do, that's when you're doing something wrong. But if you are losing when your strategy says you should enter, then you have done your part. That's your job as a trader. Your job is not to beat the markets. Your job is not to make sure that you are perfect. Your job is not to make sure that every single one of the trades you enter, like, some of these things I'll be saying at this point will not make sense, especially if you're a beginner. But believe you me, when you have spent 1 year in these markets or 2 years and you come back to this video, it will make sense to you, because you realize, oh shit, this is some of the mistakes I've been making. You are trying so hard to win. Don't try to win. If you have your strategy, work on it. You can see other people are profitable. This strategy I'm teaching you, I'm profitable with it. My strategy, my certificate is all around. You can check my social media, my certificate is there. And if that's the strategy that made me profitable, then what makes you think you cannot be profitable with it? Anybody can learn this. Not everybody, anybody. Right? Why I say not everybody is because you have to work on yourself. You have to work on your discipline, not to enter. Somebody will say, okay, you can be on a Telegram group and they will say enter. And you know your strategy does not say you should enter. Why should you enter? That's where discipline comes in. There's no reason for you to enter when your strategy says don't enter. There's absolutely no reason. Another thing is strategy hopping. So maybe you have seen this strategy and then a friend of yours, or you are seeing another trader online posting a strategy of his that he's expecting to enter at this place, and now like, this strategy looks better. Let me tell you something, there are hundreds of strategies out there, and if you don't stick to one, you can never be profitable. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of strategies out there. Different computers, different systematic ways of trading, different robots, different this, different that. But if you don't stick to one and you want to be like consistently profitable, you will not, because you have to stick to one thing. That's where discipline comes in. Now, I know I'm rambling a lot. I don't really want to make this video a long one, even though I have. So hopefully there will be more of this type of videos in the future. So the next one is strategy plus psychology equals profits. I've already talked about that a lot in this video. So finally, let me just mention the next thing you should go and do when you have already seen the strategy, you have started back testing. What you should start doing is go to these trading books, right? And then the first one I would say you should go to is Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. This is a really good book. I think it's the only one I'll be mentioning in this video first. I want to make sure you go after it first before I start talking about other books. But when you read Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, you start realizing a lot of potential mistakes if you have not even made them, right? When I read Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, it was suggested by Jeffrey Benson. So I went and read it, and I was already 1 year, like 6 months into my trading. And when I read it, I was like, oh shit. Because I think any trader who is already experienced, by the time he reads Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, realizes that he has been making all of the mistakes Mark was talking about in that book, right? So it kind of like just brings some things into perspective. It talks about your psychology, the mentality with which you should operate in these markets, and everything. So keep in mind that, however, because I've said you can be losing, does not mean you'll be blaming every single thing on the markets. No. The market is never wrong. You can be wrong, but the market is never wrong. Which means if you see that you're losing a lot of trades, then you should also check whether or not you have understood these concepts I'm teaching you. This trading style. If you have understood the strategy, because if you have not really understood them and you are entering and you are like, no, Trading in the Zone said I can lose 6 out of 10 trades, I can lose 7 and I'll still be profitable, and you know you have not understood the strategy, you are shitting yourself, bro. You're not going to be profitable. You keep blaming the people on YouTube, you keep blaming me, you keep blaming all the people trying to teach you how to trade, and it won't be any of their fault, it will be yours, because you don't want to sit down and back test, right? You don't want to go to the charts, check previous price action data to see if this thing works. Try and see if you will have entered here and exit here and then it will have worked. All that kind of thing. Coming back to the charts the next day to make sure it's all playing out. And if you don't do that in the name of I already know how to trade, right? You keep losing because you don't understand your strategy, and that's also bad psychology. Bad psychology is also has to do with you not knowing what you should be doing in these markets. Right? It will affect your psychology a lot. But when you know that you have understood your strategy, it will boost your psychology to give you confidence that you need. You can enter a trade and literally be looking at it going to your stop loss and you won't bat an eyelid. You will literally be sipping coffee and be looking at it hitting your stop loss and you will not bat an eyelid. Because why? It's a simple loss. And you know you have understood your strategy. And you come back the next day and do the same thing again. Because you have understood your strategy. So that's all I'll be talking about in this video, guys. In the next one, we'll be diving into top-down analysis, and I'll be talking about my strategy and be showing you guys how I trade it. See you guys.